So let's talk about the Toronto Raptors. 6-0, looking like the best team in the Eastern Conference, them and the Milwaukee Bucks. But I think if you go down the roster of these two teams, I think the Raptors are a better team. You can have your Giannis versus Kawhi conversation, but once you get into like Lowry and the size and versatility that this Raptors team is showing, that's when I think it goes towards Toronto's side. But of course, there's the Celtics, who are coming out of the gates kind of slowly. Offense is stuttering. Seems Kyrie and Hayward not 100%. You got the Sixers, who are dealing with the whole Markelle Fultz situation. Are the Raptors clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference? Well, I think if we can talk about Toronto a bit here, other than the obvious, which is that Kawhi is back and he is MVP Kawhi Leonard and all that, I think we're seeing that Nick Nurse has finally done some things that this Raptors team was waiting on. For one, he's moved Ibaka to center because I think Serge's decline in athleticism made it to where, if anything, he was just a neutral power forward, but at center, he actually has an advantage where he makes opposing fives a little uncomfortable and they've got to step out like a little bit more than they want to. And his jump shot hasn't even been that great to open this season, so if Ibaka can start knocking down those threes, which I think you can expect because he's been a pretty good three-point shooter for the past couple of seasons, then that's going to cause even more spacing. Well, it's going to create spacing opportunities for the Raptors and problems for the opposing defenses. He's also finally moved Valanciunas to the bench, which I think is a good thing because Valanciunas, while he's made strides defensively to actually be decent, still not really good enough to rely on in a playoff series against good teams and all that as your starting five. He's also not playing Ibaka and Valanciunas at all, which is huge, as in he's not playing them together. And I think that's big because their offense sometimes would look like it was in quicksand with those two out there, you know? But now, like, he's got Anunoby playing the four way more often, and him at power forward is good because it just gives them a whole lot of athleticism. And, Danny Green's making his shots, and the Raptors right now are just such a loaded team where you have the top, 5 player, Lowry, who's top, at least in the regular season, he's like top 25. We'll see if he can do it in the postseason. He was pretty good in the last playoffs, even if the team itself didn't look too good against the Cavs. And then between, Anunoby, Danny Green, Serge Ibaka, Pascal Siakam, who's doing well, just a lot of tall dudes who can play defense. He finally got rid of a lot of the muddiness of their offense, and Kawhi is an MVP candidate. So this team is really good, and if we compare them to the other teams, if we look at how they stack up against the Bucks, I think the one thing right now is Lowry is playing like amazing out of the gate. Middleton has also been great for the Bucks, and I think that would be the big thing for the Raptors and the Bucks if they played in a series is who would be the number 2 guy behind, the stars, of course. If I had to bet on those two, I think I would bet more on Kyle Lowry. I know Middleton has made strides as a player, and I praised the hell out of the dude not too long ago in a video. But I've seen Lowry do it more often. Also, I think Lowry's impact goes higher than Middleton's does because, his defense and his passing and all that. But then again, Middleton under Coach Bud is a better player because he reaps the benefits of all the spacing that team has, right? I think the next thing you would compare with those two teams is the front courts, which would be really interesting. Like, I don't know if Brook Lopez could post up on Ibaka routinely enough. The one thing with Ibaka is he's like 6'10". Brook Lopez is 6'11", 7 feet, something like that. And still a damn good post-up player on top of being amazing from 3 this year. So that would be an interesting matchup, but I think Ibaka is still a good enough post defender and strong enough to where Lopez would not be able to just go to work on him. And I also think the Raptors have enough strong rebounding amongst the whole roster to deal with Giannis just being maybe the best rebounder in the NBA right now. So I'd probably give the edge to the Raptors. As far as them versus the Sixers, so Ibaka is a pretty okay post defender. I think he would be able to not allow Embiid to just back him down all day. Not to say Embiid wouldn't be able to score on him. He can score on anybody, but that would at least slow him down like 7% more. And we've seen that once you throw Embiid off a little bit, like the way Horford can with how he'll defend Embiid in the post, it can rattle him a little. It can bait him into taking like a couple extra jump shots. He might throw a lazy pass or two. But the other thing with the Raptors is if they decided to double team on the Embiid post-ups, they've got so many good defenders who are long-armed and everything, who know what they're doing, that I think they could swarm Embiid and give him some trouble. I think they've got some good size to stay in front of Ben Simmons, between Ibaka. Danny Green still knows what he's doing, although Ben Simmons might be able to overwhelm him physically. You've got Kawhi, who I'm sure, if he really locked in, could potentially take Ben Simmons out of a series. You might have to sacrifice some of Kawhi's offense for that, but, if it takes him out, then you do it. Yeah. Team's pretty loaded. If we look at them versus the Celtics, the problem with Boston right now is their offense is just so out of whack, to the point where who knows if it's going to be clicking on all cylinders by the time the playoffs get going. You have to bet it will, just because the team is talented, Brad Stevens is the coach and all that, but between Gordon Hayward clearly not being back yet, because he can't beat guys off the bounce, doesn't have the lift on his jumper, can't totally move around all the way defensively. Then you got Kyrie, who kind of similar. Also, if I'm being honest, sometimes Kyrie has looked a little sluggish and lethargic this year. He's definitely had moments where he's beaten guys off the dribble, but he just doesn't totally look like Kyrie Irving right now, And if you're going to face this Raptors team just full of size and athleticism and Kawhi, you've got to be ready to go on offense, and right now the Celtics got some problems. Other problems for the Celtics, they don't grab offensive rebounds. They're not getting to the basket anywhere near enough. They don't draw enough fouls. So, yeah. I think right now the Raptors are looking like the best team in the East. I think they have something that can bother pretty much every other team in the East. Not to say that other teams wouldn't also give them a challenge, but yeah, it's definitely looking towards the Raptors' way. Now, I think what could be Toronto's biggest weakness, and I think this would mainly come out against the Celtics, is they really only have two guys who can create their own shot. Fred VanVleet can do a little, but you still have to call particular plays with the guy, right? Whereas with the Celtics, assuming Kyrie and Hayward can get to being healthy, that's three guys, because those two and Tatum, who can kind of make something happen out of nowhere, and that gives you a little bit more freedom offensively, whereas with Toronto, it's it's 2 versus 3 basically, and I think that matters a little bit. But even so, I think this team is loaded. I was scared of them going into the season. I'm more scared of them now, especially because my team's offense is a mess. I know they won against the Pistons tonight, but I'm not convinced. So, yeah, the Kawhi thing is going pretty well.